Hey, BassGeek here, and today we're going to be talking about a technique that I've seen a lot of people get wrong in some videos. I'm going to show you how it's actually done because it was actually one of those things that was created in my area to fish for those wintertime smallmouth. So let's talk about it. All right, before we get started, I want to talk to you about the Columbus, Ohio Fishing Expo. Guys, I'm going to put links in the description. Now, the last time I checked this morning, they hadn't got it updated to where you can buy tickets. But remember, me and Debo's going to be doing seminars. I think both of us are doing them on Sunday, February the 14th. If I'm wrong, I'll put the date up here. Anyway, what we're going to be doing, there's going to be a ton of pros, a ton of guys talking about different species of fishing. So, but for $5, guys, you know, the seminars alone are going to be worth that. Not to mention, what's great about it being a virtual expo this year is the fact that anyone can go. So no matter where you're at in the country or even the world, you can pay $5. You can get all those seminars, 2 days worth of seminars, and you can find products that maybe don't get made or sold in your area. So you can bring some new techniques home that your buddies ain't fishing and make you look like a genius. Now, let's get into talking about tightlining. Now, I've seen a lot of guys talk about tightlining, and tightlining is a tremendous winter time way to catch bass, okay? So I'm going to start out with my go-to setup right here, and we'll talk about the two setups first, and then we'll get into techniques. So this rod right here is a medium, light, moderate fast action, and the reason why you're going to go with something that's so light and so small is because you're going with a 1/8 ounce ball head jig, okay? So a little 1/8 ounce ball head on a number 1 to a 1/0 little hook on it, okay? Again, I'll put descriptions to what I use in the links, or in the, I will put links in the description. Reverse that description in the links. I don't know, maybe, you know, whatever. Anyway, so, but this is the sticks. It is a 7'6". It is a great rod for this. Now I pair it with a 2500. This is an older Shimano Sierra. Really good, really cheap Shimano reels. And I shouldn't say cheap, guys. When I say cheap, you know, I'm just an old school hillbilly, man. When I say cheap, it doesn't mean bad, okay? I know a lot of people think that way. It's the lower priced version of some good reels. But anyway, so with this technique about the line, generally what I'm doing is I'm using braid. So I'll use like 10 to 12 pound braid, and I will put it on anywhere from 3 to 6 pound test fluorocarbon, depending on the clarity of the water. I'll put about a 15-foot leader on there, okay? So I am casting the knot. Use your favorite knot. I like a quick, easy knot, either a blood knot or the double uni, which is hugely easy. And, you know, with these eyes, easy to get through and cast. Now, the other thing that you'll really notice is that this bait, I have a non-slip knot tied on it. Again, I've got a great video on how to tie that. So make sure you go check that out. Links in the description for that too. My go-to, which you'll notice I don't have a bait on that. Now, my go-to bait on this is going to be the Berkeley Gulp little minnows, right? Now, I like them in that 2-inch to 3-inch size. That's what I put on this. So don't leave them on your hook, because they are, when they dry out, they are a pain in the rear end to get off. So do not leave them on your hook. Again, this is a very light, you've got to have a reel that's got good drag. That's one of the keys, a good smooth drag. And Even then, I tend to back reel. Now you'll notice, guys, as I always say, make sure you're protecting your investment, TRC. Make sure you're getting these rod covers. Even for you guys on the bank, it's like I always say, this is the best rod tip protection. It's hard from here up, so you can bang it into the ground, and it's got foam and it floats. So whether you're on a boat or on the bank, you take it off, it goes in the water, you're gonna be able to retrieve it. Now this is my second combo, and this combo right here, I believe this is a 7'4", and this is a medium, or this is a mid-moderate fast tip. So it's a moderate backbone, mid-moderate with a fast tip, okay? This is actually the 3B Tightlining Special by Dixie Rod. So this rod is made specifically for it, and this is the second bait that I like to go to. Now I've got this paired with one of the Lose Speed Spins. This is their, I want to say this is a $45 model. Don't hold me to that, but this is one of their lower end as far as cost go. But guys, this thing is amazing. All right, I'm going to tell you, this, even compared to the Sierra, I would lean toward this right now. I really like this budget reel by Lose. I really like it. All that being said, it's the same exact setup, you know, 3 to 6 pound test depending on the water clarity right here. This reel is a 300 or a 3000 compared to Shimano. It is a little bigger. I'm going to do the same thing. I do like high vis. I was kind of out of high vis on that one, so I just went with a good old green. But I'm going to put my braid on, my good braid. Now, I do use braid backing, then my good braid, and then I go to about a 15 to 20 foot fluorocarbon leader, okay? When you're using braid backing on these reels to fill them up, again, about 10 to 12 pound test. I like 10 pound because of the super light line here. Do not get to the point to where your knot is going to be shown. So you just want to fill a little bit of this up just to take up space, and then put your good braid on, okay? But again, that's my setup on these. That's what I like. Now here's the second bait. The second bait, this is a little hair jig. Again, 1/8 ounce. I think this is a Dewey's, Z-Dews, that's right. Anyway, I've got a couple of them. Again, I'll put links in the description. Now, one thing you'll notice, I do cut, it normally comes way out here. I'll trim that tail just barely past the hook. What that'll allow me to do, even if I want to, is put one of those Berkeley Gulps or one of these on. That's a little smaller hook. 90% of the time, this is what I use. So this right here, again, with the loop knot, is my secondary bait. A lot of times if they're not biting the gulp, they'll be biting this. And again, it's basically a floating fly. Hence why I kind of call it the poor man's floating fly. Not that fishing a floating fly is expensive, but like I said, if you do it the traditional way, it's extremely, you know, you got to have like a 9 or 10 foot rod. You got to have the bobber. You know, this is kind of the same thing. So the first place, again, is going to be a bluff. And you want to be in nice and tight. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a nice little cast out. You're not going to let this touch the bottom. You're going to keep your rod tip at about a 10 to 11 o'clock. And you're just barely going to shake your rod tip. You're just reeling it in just so it doesn't touch the bottom, that it pendulums back to you. Like I said, you want to stay nice and tight to your bluff, and you want to barely shake this. Again, you want to contour the bottom, just barely shake that rod tip, and you can see that that rod tip and I mean I am barely shaking it, is just really moving. So the other thing is 45-degree banks. And again, what you're going to do is you're just going to cast right out there, and you're going to let it pendulum back to the boat, keeping your rod at about 10 or 11 and just reeling it as it falls down that bank. You don't want it sitting on the bottom. If it's sitting on the bottom, you're not reeling fast enough. Again, you want it to pendulum back. You want to barely shake that rod tip. You don't want it on the bottom. You want it to pendulum back to the boat just above the surface of that 45-degree bank. Now, if you're fishing this from the bank, what you can do, keep your rod tip high, and you're going to have to reel a little bit quicker. You may hit the bottom a little more than I would coming the opposite direction. But the great thing about this is you can actually let it hit the bottom, give it a hop, let it pendulum a little more, give it a hop, let it pendulum a little bit more. You can still contour the bank, you're just going the other direction. The rod tip needs to stay high, 10, 11 o'clock, okay? Good drag, and if you know how to back reel, if you're using that 3 and 4 pound test, you may want to back reel a little bit. Now, I'm going to do that with both the jig and the Berkley Gulp. That's how I'm going to fish both of them. I'm going to fish, and I'm really going to target main lake areas to those first, we'll say 1/3 of the creek, as long as we've got some good water and some good bait fish in the area. Because what you're doing is you're contouring that bank, and you're just basically shaking it as it goes down and comes back to you at the boat, and you're just emulating basically a quivering dying shad as it goes down the side of the bank. This is a incredible technique. I'm going to focus around a lot of rock, stuff where the fish are going to be able to get warm in the afternoons, where areas that are going to get a lot of sun. Guys, that's one thing you got to remember. Pay attention to sun in the wintertime. When you can get out and you can get on those banks that get sun all day long, those fish toward the end of the day are going to become a lot more active, because they're going to have, those rocks are going to hold a lot of heat, okay? And as far as tightlining goes, that's really it. You're going to contour the bank, you're going to cast it out there, hold your rod tip up, just barely shake it, and let that thing pendulum and contour that bank. It's kind of a lot like you hear guys fishing spy baits up north, but this is a very finesse technique, and he catches a lot of big smallmouth, a lot of good green fish, and those spots alike. So this is actually tightline, and a lot of people get it mixed up with the Demiki rig, which is a vertical presentation. I've seen, I'm not going to name his name, but I've seen a very big, very well known, he's also on YouTube, talk about tightlining, and the whole time he was talking about the Demiki rig. So it's not the same thing, it is different, and we'll talk about the Demiki rig, or I've got a great Demiki rig video. And if you want to hear a lot more about the Demiki rig, some stuff that I've discovered and how that bite has progressed over the years, make sure you come listen to that seminar, because I've got some really cool updates for you on how to catch them on the Demiki rig. Now, all that being said, as always, guys, questions, comments in the comment section below. You guys know I love to talk fishing with you. I'm sorry I'm not out there on the water right now. Today would be a beautiful day to be out on the water. It makes me want to puke that I'm not. But please understand, if you've seen my front yard right now, here's a little picture of it, you'd understand. We're still trying to get things done. Still don't have my baits and stuff, which is why I didn't have my Berkley Gulps up here with me. You know, I don't have any of my stuff with me. My boat and stuff is still at my mom's. So, you know, we're trying to get there. And actually, if you listen, you can hear machinery outside as they're working on the house now. Anyway, so again, all I know is we hit 40,000, guys. I so much appreciate you for that. Debo, appreciate you. Your live stream really pushed me over the top that few days. Debo is a great guy. Guys, make sure you check out my guys, Debo and Tackle Junkie 81, two very good friends of mine. And, you know, like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, you guys rock.